While making this video, I discovered that the old PS2 had many exclusives, way more than what would easily fit into one video. So I've decided to turn this into a recurring series, and hopefully, if I get a good response, I'll make more of these. Let me just start by saying that I actually considered Rayman 2 Revolution as a PS2 exclusive, since its level design is so different from the other versions, but sanity prevailed and I knew that including it would raise some eyebrows. With that out of the way, let's start with the list.
Are you telling me we're driving into a witch hunt, Mulder?
If you want to catch witches, you have to go on a witch hunt, Scully.
And I assume there's a reason other than one of the girls wears a pentagram to make you believe they both practice witchcraft.
Those fingers...
Presented as a fully fledged episode of X-Files, Resist or Serve is part adventure game and part survival horror. It combines the two elements in a unique way that I thought was very interesting. Combat is a little clunky at times, but as a huge fan of the television series, I'm willing to overlook its shortcomings.
Are you ready? Go! 4 right, into 3 left.
Evolution was the last WRC game made by Evolution Studios, before they switched to the MotorStorm series. They went out on a bang though, because it was one of the best reviewed rally games on the PlayStation 2.
Master Jack, this is Jasner Colton, Lord Chamberlain of Radiata.
Really?
Really? Jack, your manners! Bow to his lordship.
But what about...
As an unassuming gamer, you will definitely be surprised by the humor in Radiata stories. It's the funniest JRPG you will ever play, but the art style has aged really well, and the graphics greatly benefits from upscaling. Honestly, it's a really good game, with a solid story and decent combat. As the name suggests, R-Type Final was supposed to be the last game in the series, but it was successful enough to warrant 2 sequels. It is one of the best horizontal shooters ever made though, and with a fairly challenging game loop, enthusiasts should give this one a try. It's definitely worth your time. Hot Shots Golf 3 was arguably the pinnacle of sports games during the PS2 era. It had relatively simple mechanics, but a lot of the challenge lay in the course design, which punished mistakes quite severely. Landing in bunkers could cost players several strokes, as I had learned to my detriment. There were 2 Maximo games on the PS2, and they were actually successors to the Ghost and Goblin series. They were meant to be exclusive to the Nintendo 64, but delays meant that it ended up on Sony's console. Ghosts to Glory is a great game, but Army of Zin has several improvements, and it's a bit longer as well.
Hostile down.
Hostile down! Do we know where the rice will be?
24, the game, plays off between the 2nd and 3rd seasons of the popular show. Its main strengths are clearly the well-developed narrative and the impressive visuals. Gameplay was heavily influenced by other well-known titles of the time, most notably Enter the Matrix and 007, Everything or Nothing. In War of the Monsters, players take on the roles of monsters in city environments. Technically, it's a fighting game, but with beat-em-up elements thrown in for variety. It's fun while it lasts, but can get somewhat repetitive after a while. Urban Reign was an action beat-em-up that allowed for co-op gameplay. It could easily be played single-player though. It's a lot of fun, but enemy AI lacks a bit of challenge. The game is mostly aimed at the casual crowd, so don't expect to be blown away. This was the last of the Bloody Raw games, and the second on PS2. Essentially, it's a fighting game where characters can transform into beasts to give them enhanced capabilities during gameplay. There are better fighting games on the console, especially if you're searching for fast-paced combat. In that regard, Dead or Alive 2 and Virtua Fighter 4 will serve you better. Shining Force Neo is a traditional role-playing game, and I have to admit, I liked it a lot. It's easy to get into, with controls that automatically lock on to enemies. The learning curve is also very reasonable. It's not especially unique, however, giving off some generic vibes that are hard to overlook. You might be forgiven for thinking Steambot Chronicles was developed by Level 5 Studios, considering how similar the art style is to games like Dragon Quest. But actually, the developers were more known for R-Type. This is a really great JRPG though, so you should give it a try. Haunting Ground leans more heavily on suspense than survival horror. Nevertheless, it is reminiscent of Capcom's Clock Tower series, where the protagonist has to run away from enemies and hide. However, on occasion, the protagonist does have to fight. Later on, you also get a canine partner to help against enemies.
Huh? Hey Yuki, look at that!
I told you, I'm a little busy right now! Huh?
Grandia 3 tried to change things up with the story. You play as an aspiring pilot who inadvertently becomes involved with a plot that threatens the life of an elven princess. It sounds predictable, but the characters are charming, and you really root for the main character. In my opinion, it's a criminally underrated JRPG. If you consider just its influence on the industry, Gran Turismo 4 is quite possibly the best racing game of all time. At the very least, it's the last racing game to offer a compelling single-player career mode. The amount of vehicle customization available to the player is unparalleled, even today.
This is it. If I drink this, everybody will disappear.
I must admit, I don't know what to make of Echo Night Beyond. It's a FromSoft game, and weirdness was sort of expected from the developer back then. I guess it feels like a very early walking simulator, but nowhere near as polished as they are today. If you're looking for something different though, Echo Night may be your type of game. Resident Evil Dead Aim was unique because the player explored environments in third person, but had to switch into first-person mode to shoot at enemies. So it's not an on-rails shooter, but it certainly can feel like one, given the aesthetics. I used a controller, but a mouse would definitely be more suitable for precise aiming.
Enemy spotted. The situation was compromised, so I opened fire.
The SOCOM series was a mainstay throughout the PS2's life cycle. They were tactical shooters, and in my opinion, the second game was the best of the trilogy. If you're interested in multiplayer, PCSX2 does have support for online servers. Both Kim and Shigo are playable characters in this side-scrolling platformer. Movement relies heavily on parkour, and I'm a big fan of the level design, which fits the controls very nicely. This game would surely be very popular on Steam, but unfortunately it's stuck on PS2, so emulation is our only option. In terms of graphics, Gungrave Overdose is a bit of a downgrade when compared to the original. This was done to prevent slowdowns on the console. But I think it looks alright and the animations are definitely smoother than before. Its single-player campaign is also 3 times longer, which is a bonus. If you like action games, this will scratch that itch. Okay, that covers the first 20 games in this list. I'll go a bit faster now, since I know you guys have other things to do.
You had it coming.
Cut the lettuce. You got to heat the grill. Heat the grill. Yeah. Toast.
That's it. Stop it!
The target's down. I mean, got him. He's down.
That's it for this video. If you found it useful, please remember to give a like. It really helps with the algorithm. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.